The M1 equipped MacBook Air, one of the first usable ARM-based computers, barring mobile phones and tablets, along with the MacBook Pro and Mac Mini, took the whole computer industry by storm when it was first launched in November of 2020. Prior to the unveiling of the new MacBooks, Microsoft tried making the ARM-based architecture mainstream in the desktop market, but failed. What made Apple succeed but Microsoft flounder in the same industry? Let us find out in this video. Starting with the build quality of this laptop, if I have to describe it in one word, it would have to be robust. This unit is finished in rose gold, although a little muted to what people have come to expect from Apple's aforementioned color that debuted with the iPhone 6s. It has a tendency to look golden in natural light, but slightly pink when the room is dimly lit. In any light, however, it looks classy. The chassis itself feels sturdy, as mentioned before, with little flex on the keyboard deck. A very smooth palm rest lies right below the keyboard island, center to which rests the massive trackpad that houses the same 3D touch technology that was once present in the iPhones and Apple Watches. The trackpad's surface is as satiny as the entire laptop itself. The hinge joining the display with the rest of the laptop is well balanced, and the overall construction is at par with the standards that we all have come to expect and like when it comes to an Apple product. The display, though not 4K, is plenty sharp for almost any user out there. The display technology may not be OLED or Mini LED as is present in the latest iPad Pro, but still the contrast ratio is good enough to make the blacks look black and not grey. It proves that for a product to be better than others, the use of better technology might not be necessary as long as the calibration and optimization is top-notch. The tall aspect ratio makes it easier to view more content while browsing the internet or perusing a document. But nowadays, video content is mostly being produced in 18:9 aspect ratio, which means that while consuming modern video content, you are likely to see letterboxing or black bars on the top and bottom of the video. If it offers any consolation, the brightness has seen an upgrade over the last generation MacBook Air, and the overall quality of the panel has also been improved, making the colors rich, vibrant, and more natural at the same time.
What is it tonight? Morphine or cocaine?
Well, I can strongly recommend a 7% solution of cocaine. Would you care to try it?
No, indeed.
Before summing up the multimedia experience, let's talk about the speakers. For a long time now, it has been a consensus that MacBooks are the class leaders when it comes to having great speakers on a laptop, and the same is true this time too.
My mind rebels at stagnation. Give me problems. Give me work. Give me the most abstruse cryptogram, the most intricate analysis, and I'm in my proper atmosphere.
The speakers placed on either side of the keyboard are loud and crisp, though the bass takes a bit of a hit due to the device being so sleek and there not being enough space for a bigger soundbox. All in all, the speakers are great, unless you plan on listening to low-end heavy music, in which case you might be better off with a good pair of headphones. Recapitulating the multimedia experience, it is a commendable laptop if you plan on using it for watching movies or any other forms of visual art shows. The speakers are great, albeit somewhat limited in bass. The display produces rich and vivid colors, and finally, there is ample brightness for outdoor work. To have a rich experience when it comes to work or consuming media without having to worry about running out of battery or being near a power socket, the endurance of the device needs to be good enough. Fortunately, the battery department has always been a strong suit of MacBooks thanks to the generous battery capacity coupled with good optimization. Furthermore, owing to the ARM-based SoC, which is very efficient since the architecture was designed to be used in mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets, the battery life is better than ever. Designing a custom SoC meant that the developers could dig into the architecture and optimize the applications and software in a manner not possible with the store-bought processors. This optimization has brought us substantial gains on both the power and efficiency fronts. In this case, the use of ARM architecture enabled Apple to better the battery life over the previous generation by up to 6 hours, stretching the same to 18 hours. This, however, is seldom possible in real life, as we tend to watch videos with brightness and volume all the way up, which consumes more battery, or during work, multiple tabs of browsers open in the background, and any other work-related software running, which depletes the battery faster than we might imagine. In my workflow, using Blender to render 3D models or using Unity to develop 2D or 3D games meant that I was looking for the charger every 5 to 6 hours. Simpler tasks such as web development needed less CPU power, so the battery life for such work was around 8 to 10 hours. And simply browsing the internet meant that I was able to stretch the battery life to a maximum of 15 hours, which was still less than the advertised number, but an impressive endurance indeed. Coming to the most important part of this laptop, the performance. It is important to note that this laptop is the first of its generation and therefore should be evaluated as such. That being said, the performance has been admirable. Since the ARM architecture is new for Mac developers, the applications and software need to be migrated to the new platform. This transition could have gone horribly wrong if the user base was not satisfied with the availability of their favorite applications. But thanks to the translation engine Rosetta, this problem was averted. Any software that is not natively supported by the ARM architecture is translated in real time from the old architecture to the new one. This means that there is a decrease in performance and battery life, as there is an extra layer of processing happening in the background, but the trade-off is well worth it. Better still, it only tells us that when all the apps are natively supported, the performance and battery is going to be better than ever. This particular unit has 16 GB RAM, 256 GB storage, and the base M1 SoC, which includes 7 GPU cores and 8 CPU cores. Since, to me, RAM was more important than having extra storage, I opted for the upgraded 16 GB RAM, which meant that I was getting the base variant of the processor unless I also went with more storage, which I did not need. Now, talking about the performance, I used Unity to build a game, keeping in mind that the software is not supported by the ARM architecture and that the whole thing was running on a translation layer. The build time was quick and there was no lag for the most part while running the software. Although switching from edit mode to game mode was time consuming, everything else was completely smooth. 3D modeling is generally seen as a GPU and CPU intensive task. Using Blender, which again is not natively supported by the ARM architecture, to tweak some existing models, applying multiple layers, and rendering hundreds of frames at a time was no problem either. Depending on the scene and render settings, the render time was between 0.3 seconds and 10 seconds per frame, which is quite good for a software that is being translated in real time. The laptop easily managed to perform all the tasks at hand without using much power or getting too hot. This also shows that it is thermally stable as opposed to the previous generation MacBooks, which were infamous for their poor thermal performance. Again, keeping in mind that the architecture is mainly used in smartphones and that this is a first generation device, I think that the engineers at Apple deserve a pat on the back for the work they have put in to make this such an exciting, efficient, and powerful laptop. It is not every year that we see such huge improvements in the computer industry, so this move is certainly estimable. Talking about connectivity, for wireless networks you have the options of Wi-Fi 6, which is very fast, Bluetooth 5 and AirDrop, which again uses both Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth. On the port side you have only two, both of which are the versatile USB-C Thunderbolt 4 ports. The two ports can prove to be limiting, especially if you keep the laptop plugged in at all times, resulting in only one free port. This restriction is due to the new M1 processor, which makes it a hardware limitation and not a design choice, a trade-off of being a first generation model. Fortunately, it still bears a 3.5mm headphone jack. There are a few things that I dislike about this laptop. The fact that you can turn it on by pressing any key or even the trackpad, the limited I/O and a subpar camera to name just a few. Then there are many things to like about it, such as an incredibly great keyboard and trackpad, a nice microphone and an equally impressive pair of speakers, and a very fast and responsive Touch ID or fingerprint reader. There are a lot of other things that go into making a laptop either great or not so. However, in this limited time span, it was only possible to include the points already discussed. So, what do I think about this laptop? Should you buy it? I think the answer is yes, if you do not care about what the future products come with. If you do, however, then I think that no product can satiate your desire to be on the forefront of technology, as it is virtually not possible, since technology is ever emerging and developing. If you think of an electronic device as a tool or a medium to express your thoughts or be as creative as you can be, and to do so you are on a tight budget, then I think that this laptop is perfect for you, with some trade-offs of course. As the denouement, if you want a laptop with a great display and an equally good pair of speakers for content consumption, or a powerful processor for all of your creative needs, then this is the right choice for you, as it can pull off a double duty of being a powerhouse as and when required, and a chill out machine when you removed is the same.